the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hey there, I'm James Hipkin. I am thrilled to be here and sharing some conversation with the business story of the week.
Fantastic. And that is the man himself, James. He is going to be our guest for today. I'm Joshua, your host. Every day, every week, every episode, we start off with a riveting question. Today's question is, what's the one thing all successful websites have in common that most people overlook? That's just a little kind of a teaser question right there. James, just a real quick, what would it be?
Well, I tell you, the thing that the successful websites have in common is strategy.
Strategy. Well, now I feel like that is what James is going to be sharing with us today. James Hipkin, ladies and gentlemen, is a seasoned marketing professional with over 40 years of experience with major clients like Sprint, Apple, Wells Fargo, and Toyota. Since 2010, he has been helping six-figure businesses grow through customer-centric digital marketing and website solutions. He leads innately, providing small business owners with professionally built, secured, and maintained websites so they can focus on what they do best. And today, James is going to be sharing that illustrious 40-year career with us. James, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Gets a little frightening when people talk about 40 years I've been doing this, but
Well, I think, James, I already feel like, what best is a best reflection of a long story career is how simple you explain concept, or how simple like experts explain their concept, and that shows in the work that you do for others, and in your own personal way of talking about things, because it's quite simple, right? Websites, marketing. But before we get deep into that, James, what was it young James Hipkin like? Was he always into marketing? What would the young James say to the James of today?
let's just say that I have had a checkered past.
Hmm,
I graduated from college with a music degree.
interesting. Oh, wow.
And I spent the first 6 years out of college working in the rock and roll industry,
Of course.
touring with bands, people you'd recognize.
Very cool. Very
And it
cool.
was it was quite an education and quite an experience. It taught me a great deal about a lot of things. It taught me a great deal about people.
Mhm.
And it opened my mind to lots of different ways of doing things. But I reached a point where I looked at the future and I decided, no, this is not what I wanted to keep doing. So I went about getting a real job as a junior account executive at an advertising agency. My mother was very happy.
Of course. 6 years touring in a band, and she's like, "Oh no, when is he ever going to get a real job?" And you finally did.
Exactly. Exactly. But that first job in an advertising agency led to traveling all around the world, 4 countries on 3 different continents. I've been exposed to high-end marketing in a lot of different situations with a lot of different brands. And it's really helped me understand marketing. And I like to say, I'm on a mission to demystify marketing for folks. When you think about things in terms of their principles, it's not that complicated. Where it gets overwhelming is all of the tactical choices that swirl around, all of the
Right.
shiny things. But that's why I answered your first question the way I did. When I look at websites and digital marketing programs, the most common flaw that I see is an absence of strategy.
Absence of strategy, because it's one thing to have your branding, it's one thing to have your message, maybe. All of that is, I feel like all the shiny stuff, right? It's so exciting to have your color palette, to finally have your concept out there, But I always go back to what I was told, that as a business owner, your first duty, your first role is sales and marketing. It's not like putting a team together. Of course, that will come, right? But all these other things should come secondary to marketing. But James, when you talk about marketing, you have a real niche focus on the website. Talk to us a little bit about that, and why website, and why do you think it's the main driver of growth?
Well, the truth of the matter is, business only owns two digital assets.
Interesting.
They own their website and they own their list. Everything else is rented land. And the website becomes the hub of a digital marketing strategy. It's where information and value emanates out from the website.
Right.
And it's where your customers and potential customers go to the website to find out if you're a good fit for them. Give you an example of this.
Please.
I will often ask a business owner, what's the primary objective of your website? And they will give me a litany of things that they want the website to do. And then we'll have a quick conversation about the definition of the word primary. There can only be one. They'll settle, more often than not, on conversion.
Okay.
This is
Conversion
a bit
always.
controversial,
Okay.
but that's almost always wrong.
Interesting. So websites is not always about conversion,
It's
because
its primary objective is almost always not conversion.
wow,
The
interesting.
primary objective, if you think about things from the point of view of the customer and the customer who's visiting the site, they're looking for confirmation
That's it.
that you
That's it.
understand their problem,
Mm,
that you understand how they're thinking, that
mm,
you have a credible solution to their problem, that their solution is believable, and then conversion will happen.
see,
But
I
it's
see.
not the first thing, that's not the primary objective of the website. And
Interesting.
that change in mindset is an important example of when I talk about the absence of strategy.
I see.
Most websites, most marketing is what I call inside out.
Inside out
It
marketing.
is the business owner standing on the top of his building shouting at the world at large about how awesome they are.
That's it. That's it.
But
Pretty
the
much.
reality is
Okay.
consumers are inundated with marketing messages,
Mm,
6,000 to 10,000 messages a day,
of course. Of course.
right? So it's just noise.
So
So
how do you stand out?
you need to think about it from the outside back in.
That's
Who
it.
is your customer? What do they look like demographically? What do they
Mm,
look like? What are their characteristics? What are they like as people? What is their pain in their words? And then what is their gain from working with you from their perspective? And then the other half, that's what we call the customer avatar.
customer
And that
avatar.
really, okay, but it doesn't stop there because the whole process is dynamic. You have to map the buyer's journey from
There you go.
I am
Experience.
totally unaware of, I've got no need, I don't even see any of this marketing, to something happens in their life. And
Interesting.
suddenly all of this marketing appears. Now, it was always there,
Always there.
but since it didn't have any interest, they just didn't see it.
Mhm.
But that top of the funnel awareness level manifests itself with a whole bunch of questions and obstacles and concerns. And as they travel down their journey, they get into consideration, which is where they're looking for what are their options, into prospecting, where they're going to be choosing one of two or three different choices down to the final decision process. Each one of those stages in the journey has its own set of questions, its own set of obstacles, its own set of issues.
Fascinating.
And if you don't understand
All of that.
who the avatar is and what their journey is, how do you craft marketing that's going to resonate with who they are and where they are in their journey?
Fantastic. I love that. I love those questions, and they feel very crucial and very overlooked. In fact, I mean, with websites, of course, at least personally for me, one of the things that I always say, it's like it's your digital calling card, so to speak. It's like your digital
It's your
business book.
digital front door.
It's your digital front door. People see that, but I love how you said that. Um, Confirmation first, information first. Tell them why you're the expert, and then they will convert. But more than that, I mean, that's just like you said, that's the hub. If the website is like the wheel of a hub, it feels like you're talking about customer avatar, customer experience. They feel like the spokes of the
Well,
hub wheel.
the spokes are the digital marketing channels that you're using to get your
Interesting.
message out and that the
Okay.
consumers are using to reach back in. The content
Interesting.
and messaging strategy is the rim that holds it all together,
I love that. I love that analogy.
right? And if you think about it, I even have props. I've got
Of
a
course you
I've got,
do.
I've got a hub. I've got spokes,
Okay,
right?
okay, okay. James, get into
Right?
it. Get into it with us. This is very, very cool. So, okay,
But they're
website
not.
is
They
like
have
the
no
hub,
value by themselves. They've
of
only have
course. Yeah.
value when they're connected.
Please connect all of those parts for us.
Yeah. Well, that's where the strategy comes in. That's where understanding who your customers are, having avatars for each of the subsegments in your audience. Most businesses, if they look at their business honestly, 80% of their revenue is coming from 20% of their customers. Really, truly understanding that 20% is key, because if you're talking to the average customer, you're going to attract the average customer.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
if you really understand your best customers and you create messaging and content and marketing that resonates with your best customers and what they're looking for, you're going to attract more people like them. And back in the day when I was working with large budgets and large brands, we would commission research studies to develop customer avatars and buyer's journey maps. And, that's involved focus groups and quantitative research and smart people doing analysis, et cetera, et cetera. It could cost 50 grand for exercise like that.
So,
Now,
yeah,
when you're dealing with a $100 million marketing budget, $50,000 is barely rounding error. So it's not that big a deal. But most smaller business owners don't have that kind of money and they don't want it. That just doesn't make sense. So what we've been doing is taking my understanding of the strategy and drawing in some folks that I've worked with in my past. It's one of those oddities that I've been in this business a long time and I know a lot of people, and much to my wife's amazement, people like me. So I brought in one of my friends, colleagues who used to do this she's a market researcher and she used to do this kind of work and still does this work in the traditional way.
right.
And I worked with her and we built an interview guide. And then another colleague of mine who's a prompt engineer and very fascinated by the whole thing. He's been working on the prompt engineering,
Hmm.
and we're creating a situation where a business owner can take our interview guide and pick up the phone and call 6 to 10 of their existing customers and
Interesting.
interview them with using the interview guide, record the interview, download that recording into our system. If we get 6 to 10 of these recordings, we can generate a very robust customer avatar and buyer's journey map
Very
that
interesting.
this business owner can now use. And it's a fraction of the cost of the traditional methodologies.
That is very, very cool. And James, we talked a little bit about this prior to recording the interview. these are one of the things that you're talking about for practical applications of AI right now. This is perfect for small businesses, of course, because you're taking it a step further by using this tool to our advantage and creating a massive, like you said, robust advantage for small business owners. James, I feel like these are just one of the many practical AI tips that you have for us today. What else have you guys come up with when it comes to using AI, for small business owners?
Well, we use it in a number of different ways. One of the things that differentiates a well-designed website from an amateur website, or
Mhm.
somebody who's claims they can but can't really, is how they use color. The color palette in a website designers use the 60-30-10 color strategy, which is the
Yes,
same color strategy that interior designers use. That's why
yes,
if you see a picture of a living room in a magazine, there's a red pillow on the sofa. That's the 60-30-10 in action. Well, we use the same strategy with websites. So what I did was I spent about a month working on a prompt that if I give it one hex code for a color, say from the logo, it will generate the color palette using the 60-30-10 strategy
yes,
that we can then use in the website. So you've got background colors, you've got primary and secondary colors, and then you have the accent color for the
of
buttons
course.
and things.
Hmm. Very cool.
And then I had one of my developers, because it works so well, that we turned it into a plugin, and you can now, that plugin's now available in the WordPress repository. That's a
Fascinating.
more tactical application of
Very tactical
machine learning.
application. And all of this is just like is now a button away. Previously, it takes hours. It would take hours for our human brains to kind of come up with concept, but now it's just one click away. It does all of that grunt work for us and saves a lot of time for business owners.
Right. Well, and it's also, in essence, if you think about it, what we've done, and that's just one tactical example. I have 3 or 4 others that I could share with you, but that's one tactical example. But what we've done, it took me a good solid month of back and forth where I would run tests, send the tests out to designers that I know, and these top tier designers, they would give me feedback. I would use the feedback to refine and refine. So in essence, the website owner is getting access to our intellectual property, our knowledge and experience to generate a color palette that is it as good as what one of my high-end designers would do on their own? Probably not, but
Right,
it's
right.
way better than
Of
the
course.
average business owner is going to be able to do it themselves,
Of course, yes, yes, because
right?
it just again it takes you a few steps ahead where it would take you, those steps would take you what, how many days or so, or and
If you
whatnot.
could ever even get there,
If
because
you could exactly,
you don't have the knowledge and experience and expertise. The business owners are very good at their business, but that doesn't make them good at all these other things.
precisely that it doesn't make them good at design. They not every business owner might have the good eye for design as well, and all these other again small things when it comes to marketing. James, since we're on the topic of websites as well, and this is again the expertise in the niche that you zeroed into when it comes to marketing. I want to talk a little bit about SEO. And of course,
Sure.
we're talking about website. We can't talk about website without talking about SEO. Real quickly, what is your strategy surrounding SEO? And does this are these one of the spokes of your wheel hub?
SEO is definitely a spoke for most small business owners. If you are a local business, then local SEO can be very important and is well worth investing in.
Yes, of course.
If you're competing on a national level,
Right.
it's SEO is a very expensive, very long,
Very
very
long.
cumbersome game.
And that's national, but international is going to be even
Even
bigger.
international is going to be even bigger. So, because you're competing with, some of our corporate clients, right? We have we my the core of our business is designing and building custom websites for large corporations. We have many
Yes.
websites that we're hosting and maintaining
Mm.
that are generating 7 figures in traffic every month. And those guys putting investment into SEO makes all the sense in the world because they've got the traffic and they've got the domain authority and
They've got the
etc.
resources. They've got
But
the
for a small
people.
business owner, be knowledgeable about SEO, be aware of some of the principles, don't do anything dumb, but it's probably not your first choice
Of
as
course.
a tactic or a strategy to be pursuing with regards to your marketing. There are other more cost-effective ways to attract traffic.
Of course, I mean, with SEO, I feel like, of course, it's again, you're competing with the giants. You're competing with the heavyweights, basically. Whatever small strategy and resource that you're putting into your SEO, even what it takes them to do in a year or in a few months, probably going to take you 10 years. But I feel like it's still nice to get started on that a little bit. But
It's a
James,
good it's a good idea to be aware of it and to understand it
mhm,
and to follow best practices. But you can spend a lot of money with an SEO agency really fast, and it takes
absolutely,
months and months and months to get
months.
any traction.
But James, now that we're on that, what are the other cost-effective channels that can be better utilized by small business owners?
Well, I think we may have touched on this in the green room prior, but the truth of the matter is a business owner only owns two digital assets,
Yes.
their
Wow.
website and their list. Email marketing continues to be a highly effective way to build relationship with customers and prospects and is a very cost-effective sales channel. So I will, oddly enough, I will frequently tell a startup who contacts me about doing a website for them. We'll have a conversation and I'm like, you don't need a website. Not yet.
Yeah. Interesting.
Build your list
Your list.
because you can sign up for an account at a email service provider like MailChimp. We're a MailChimp agency, so that's our first choice, but they're all basically the same at that level. And you can get a free landing page as part of your subscription.
Interesting.
Redirect your domain name to that free landing page and tell people about what you're doing and ask for their email address.
Yes, of course.
And use your list to build your business. A very, very effective channel.
James, now that we're in that, it's kind of like we kind of get this like what comes we kind of get the chicken and egg situation, right? You don't need that website, get your list first. But how do you get your list? Oh, you make your landing page website. Like you get your people email to get that and then you build your list. So what's a work around that? Chicken or egg?
Well, it's pick. I'm recommending it when you're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Start with the list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reach out to your friends, reach out to your contacts, post on LinkedIn, post on Facebook, post wherever you can. Tell
Mm-hmm.
people about what you're doing. Invite them to follow your domain over to the email service provider landing page. Get on our list, get on our email list, and we'll keep you apprised. Authors, for example, when they're marketing their book, they should start talking about their book way before it's published. And get on the email list, create a community. Share, here are the 3 different cover designs that I'm looking at. What do you think I should use?
Very cool.
Here's a chapter from the book. Give me some feedback. Build that relationship. You can do all of those things very inexpensively with a list.
Any practical AI tools for building that list? Of course, I can do that with my family and friends. When I've done that, how do I do it outside my circle of family and friends?
I'm not sure that AI is the best match there.
Hmm.
It can help you with drafting emails. We will often use tools to, for example, another one of the tactical uses of AI that we use is clients will often give us inside out copy that's very feature focused and attribute focused. And we've got
Interesting.
prompts that we've built that will take a feature focused headline and rewrite it as a benefit oriented headline.
I love it. I love that.
We'll do the same thing with body copy. You can do the same thing with email. That's a whole different conversation, and we could do a whole podcast.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, you talked about the list, you talk about the website, two digital assets that really, people really need to own. I think people really mostly struggle. I think, as far as I know, my experience with small business owners and anyone that's really starting, like heck, even ones who are quite well established, let's call them mid business owners, they still struggle to grow that list.
And there are ways to do it. Lead magnets are still work. There are platforms that you can use that where you can, they're not free. You have to sign up and pay for them, but they provide opportunities to build your list. We're involved with one that's called Infinite List, and they do a great job. We probably gain 100 to 200 people a month on our email list just through our relationship with that group. You still have to earn people's trust, though. Email lists, there's a lot of vanity metrics that float around. Size is not nearly as important as engagement.
Yeah,
I would much rather work with somebody who has 2,000 people on their list, but they're getting open rates in the 40+%
yeah, yeah.
range
The open
versus
rates.
somebody with 10,000 people on their list and they're getting open rates of 5%.
Interesting. Interesting.
You just get more traction. So the quality of the list is more important than the quantity of the list. But building your list is key because that's one of the only two digital assets you own is your list and your website.
To highlight to our audience and listeners out there, that's why James always mentions digital assets that you own. If your content and if your channel is up on Facebook, it's up on all these socials, up on LinkedIn, you don't really own those. It's not really yours. Those things can change anytime. They can change algorithm just like that, and your business goes away. That's why it's very important to have that hub, to have that wheel hub, so to speak, when it comes to having your own marketing strategy, which is very very important again, which is most people overlooking. To touch up a little bit on LinkedIn, what's your opinion on building a list through LinkedIn, or just basically doing your lead generation or sales just primarily through LinkedIn as a small business owner over
It
email marketing?
well, it's you still want to be pushing people from LinkedIn to your email list because you don't own LinkedIn is rented land. If it depends again, the inside out versus the outside in. If your audience is on LinkedIn, then that's where you should be. If your audience is on LinkedIn, then you probably shouldn't be on TikTok. Regardless of what your nephew doesn't matter what your nephew says.
That's so fascinating. I mean, that is funny. I mean, we're always looking at like TikTok engagement, putting yourself out there, but that may not be the best approach for your business,
Yeah,
especially when you're
don't
starting
don't
off.
don't confuse noise in the press with actually effective action.
It's a great somber reminder for small business owners out there because I want to put myself out there. I want to see eyes on my business, so I'm going to make all these TikToks. I'm going to make clips out of my podcast and put them up on TikTok. But are they really converting? I think that's that. And you're putting on those resources. You're putting the time. So we have your hub, we have your website, we have your list. And James, you've given such practical advice today. And again, the experience shines through. You told us in such simple terms, in fundamental terms as well. James, the digital market evolves rapidly. It's constantly changing as well. But I feel like you've shown us some strategies that have stood the test of time. It's still there. It still works.
Right.
Given
There's
your
an
experience,
there's an
go
old
ahead.
marketing axiom that is as valid today as it was when they first came up with this, who knows when. Get the right message to the right person at the right time.
Wow, interesting. Very cool. Right message, right person, right time. And I think we have all the tools to get that done. I think we have all the opportunities to get that done. And of course, James, with your vast, massive experience in the digital marketing world that is continuously evolving, where do you see the biggest opportunities for growth in the next 5 years?
I think the opportunity for growth is strongly connected into solving your best customers' problems. If you shift your thinking to, I am not, the goal of my marketing is to create value for my customers and value for my business. That balance is really important. The other thing that I remind people about is with marketing is an awful lot like that dad joke that you've heard about the two guys in the forest who meet the bear.
Okay, okay,
And
tell us that joke.
one guy says to the other guy, we better start running. And the second guy says, well, we can't outrun a bear. And he says, I don't need to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you.
You. There you go. There. Wow, that is quite, again, like a somber reminder for digital marketers out there, for business owners out there. I really just have to outrun you. I just have to do better than you. And sometimes doing better actually involves just like focusing on that, you know,
Figure out what you're doing that's working. One of the other things that we spend a lot of time talking to our clients about is measurement. There's a concept called UTM tracking codes, right? They've been around forever, been around for a long
yeah,
time,
they are.
but are people using them?
They don't. Actually, I
They
mean,
aren't.
the people talk about them. The concept is out there, but I haven't like heard of business owners like mentioning UTM like as part of their strategy.
Right. And one of the things we always insist with our folks is using UTM codes so we can actually measure the impact of various social media channels. You know what our favorite platform is right now?
What would it be?
Pinterest.
Everyone talks about Pinterest. Why?
Because Pinterest is the only social media channel that rewards content for link clicks.
Interesting. Interesting. So I'm better off putting my videos out on Pinterest.
Well, Pinterest is absolutely a channel you should be looking at
Mm.
because there is a lot of creators there. There's a lot of people go to Pinterest for ideas. And if
Gotcha.
you're in the idea business, and who of us in marketing are not in the idea business, what better place when we put up, checklists and infographics and tips and tricks and those sorts of things, we're getting a lot of traffic to our website. And when you get traffic to your website, Google sees that traffic, that boosts your domain authority. When your domain authority is higher, it's easier to rank for keywords. It all interconnects with each other. The hub and spoke idea that we were talking about before. Have a strategy where your content and messaging is the rim that holds it all together. The spokes are the channels you're using to send your message out and to draw people back in. And the website is the core of your value proposition online.
You recommend having two websites at all for SEO? Absolutely not. Just one
How
website.
many websites does Amazon.com have?
Yeah, okay, very interesting. So no need for that extra little website. If you decide what's your messaging, what are you gonna put out there, focus it on one wheel. If you're trying to do two wheels, I think you're losing focus.
It's very hard, and it's it marketing's hard. It's you want to figure out what you're doing well, and then figure out how to do it better.
Wow, fascinating, fascinating. One last bit of question. This is really more my interest, my own personal interest. Now, what would you prefer? Or what success do you see more success in a business focused branding or a more personality focused branding. Like, I have a business. Do I put myself out instead? Does it matter at all?
It does matter. How are people looking for you? One of the things that we talk about is one of my other talks is 6 ways to engage website visitors in 6 seconds or less.
Interesting.
The second way is, am I in the right place?
That's it.
If they're looking for Joshua,
Mhm.
and because they heard about you through a friend, or they heard about you in a networking, or they heard about you on your podcast or whatever, and they get to a website and your name isn't anywhere to be seen, suddenly they're thinking, am I in the right place? Is this where I need to
Yeah,
be? Is
that's
this
it.
what I'm looking for? You don't want them thinking about that.
Need to remove that friction.
You want them to instantly recognize that they're in the right place and then move on to the next step in their journey.
Fantastic, fascinating. Again, these are again somber reminders, very simple, very fundamental, and it's still there. And I think these are things that small business owners just need to remember, just need to be reminded of if they don't already know, right? And again, James, it's fascinating. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I've been accused of reeking of common sense.
That's funny. It's reeking of common sense. Wow. I mean, I will listen to that all day if I don't know about everyone else, but to our audience and listeners out there, guys, everyone, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed James' common sense that he has spilled with us throughout this episode. James, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I truly enjoyed it.
It's been a great fun. Thank you, Joshua.
Fantastic. To all our audience and listeners out there, thank you for watching this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.